Hello, 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 and welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning in today. Well, I have to tell you that my brain is really full right now and not full of shit. I mean, it could be, but I don't think so. So tomorrow is the day before the big day. I'm leaving and flying to Boulder, Colorado, to be filmed for Ancient Civilizations #5. Um, and so for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a bunch of research and learning the material that I researched, and I feel like I am preparing for a college exam that is 100 questions, all essay. And so I have these storylines and myths and all of this stuff in my head. And so, I have to tell you, it's like some days I come on here and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to take a nap. But then I come on and it gets my energy pumping and I feel more alive. And, people are like, oh, well, you need to rest. And I'm like, no, I need to go do my show because when I'm done, I always feel energized and revitalized. Like I just had a really good meditation, except I'm hanging out with you, meditating while talking. However that works. Anyway, but I always feel good. So I'm so happy to be here, even if I have a full head, but I'm sure it'll be empty by the time we're done. So today I wanted to talk, I'm back to an ancient mystery kind of topic, ancient alien, ancient mystery, and talk about who we are and where we come from a mythic record and a little bit from my own opinion. But when you look at science today, they put out that we evolved from lower apes, and that's how we came here. Darwin's theory of evolution: the best to survive will, and the rest will die out. But when you start researching when you research the research, what you find is that assumptions are made on very little evidence. And the evidence they do have of archaic man jump from period to period. And even today, even after over 100 years of trying to prove the theory of evolution, they have yet to find the missing link. Part of it is because they really don't find all that much stuff to, they base their conjecture on a tooth. One of the things that kind of shocked me is they based the conclusion that we transitioned and started walking upright based on a calf bone, a thigh bone, something like that, one leg bone. And I'm like, how can you make a conclusion about this is how it is based on one thigh bone? But they do. I mean, I could talk about a whole other stuff that there's a lot more evidence for that they don't want to touch, but this is Facebook and YouTube, so I won't. So I'm being good. See my halo? Anyway, but when you look at myth from around the world, it is very consistent. It tells us that humanity was created either out of clay, out of some kind of genetic material, and in a couple of instances, although not many, both of those elements come into the narrative. So, for example, in China, we have the god Mua, who is depicted with the upper body of a person, and the lower part of her body is a snake. And her story is that she was lonely and she created humanity out of mud. She created these figures out of mud and then breathed life into them. That sounds kind of familiar. In the Mayan cosmology, they talk about wanting to create humanity. And this one's kind of funny, and I could just picture this in my mind. And so the people were told, to take the bone of a giant and put it into this pot and put it over, like put it in water and put it in this kettle over the flame, and that they should circle around it 4 times. And after that, a man came out. And then they did that again, and a woman came out. I mean, just add your own effects. It makes me kind of smile with that. And so that's the genetic material. And so in the Bible, for example, we find that in chapter 1, Adam is created from the dust of the earth, which is kind of mud, clay like. However, in chapter 2, we find that Eve is created from his rib, which is genetic material. So we find both things there. And then the Sumerians, in their tablets, their creation story called the Enuma Elish, talks about they wanted to create humanity, and they took a clay pot and the blood of one of the fallen gods in some narratives, and then in a different one, all of the gods spit into the clay pot. Kind of gross, but that's what it says. And humanity was created from that. So again, we have this clay motif as well as genetic material all going together to create man. But when you look at these sources, there obviously is not any talk about evolution. Basically what it says is that the gods created man, period. I mean, there's a period at the end of that sentence. And if you believe in ancient alien theory, it kind of puts you in a little bit of, like, I want to say almost a religious conundrum, because it puts you into the camp of creationists who say that God created everything, period. And myth suggests that God or the gods created everything, period. So I hate to think of myself as a creationist, but it leaves me again in a little bit of a conundrum. So I'm going to share, and this is in my book, Stepping Out of Eden, but I'm going to share my take on the whole thing. I believe that deep in our past, and we're talking, a few million years ago, that apes, that we were created, that the DNA of some ape was mixed with other DNA, and mankind was created. And these were animals like Afarensis africana and very early proto-humans. Or, no, excuse me. These were the early hominids, Homo hablatus, etc. And they were the early tool users, and they used primitive tools as part of their culture. But then at some point in time, there was an infusion of genetic material into the human stock. And you might go, well, when did that happen? But all you need to think about is the story from the Bible. And I have a couple of other examples, because I always have cross examples. The biblical story that says, in those days, the Nephilim walked the earth, and the sons of man, the sons of God mated with the daughters of men, and their offspring were their Geborim. And so we have the gods, them, mating with humanity, and their offspring, the Geborim, were men of renown. But the reality is that they're demigods. They're half man, half divine. And for a long time, I kind of wrote that story off as being, I couldn't find a parallel. But then I finally did. And it comes from the Ramayana that talks about these creatures called the Vanara. And so, without going into the whole story of Rama, but Rama needed an army to fight the demon god of Lanka. And so Vishnu, their supreme god, knew in advance that this was going to happen. And so he created this race of Vanara. And so he sent all the gods from heavens to have relations with the apes and bears of the earth. And it created a more advanced group of characters that had the skills of their parents. Maybe not as good, but they had a much higher intellect. I find it an extremely compelling parallel. But we also have stories of Zeus coming down as a swan and having relations with earth women, or the god Atlas, who was the first ruler of Atlantis, having children with a mortal of the planet. And again, their children would have been demigods and would have the attributes of their divine sire. Um, so, where does that leave us? So when you look at the archaeological record, one of the things that you find is this giant burst of new information, new energy that occurs with the development of Homo erectus. And so it only took, and I don't remember what the last version was, so please forgive me, but it took less than 3 million years for the lesser version of man to evolve into Homo erectus. And Homo erectus is very distinct from the previous iteration. They had lost all of their body hair. They lived in small societies. They started to have art. They were able to communicate with each other. There was a whole series of advances that happened in the development of Homo erectus, and even scientists to this day cannot figure out how this spurt of change and evolution could have occurred in such a short period of time, unless they were genetically engineered. Then they would be like, bam, there they are. I could go into this. This is like so fascinating to me. But the same holds true for culture, as far as the relationship of humanity with the gods. You read these stories, and this is my take on it. Humanity in general, according to myth, is a pretty dumb lot. And it's the gods who consistently teach humanity everything. They teach them how to dig in the ground with sticks to find root vegetables. They teach them how to weave. They teach them agriculture. They teach them astronomy. They teach them metalworkings. There's never a story about Fred, my next door neighbor, that figured out how to do, farming, even though I did see a show on, I don't know, one of them Discovery Channel type things that pretty much suggested that, which I laughed through the whole thing because it was pretty funny. Anyway, um, and so if this is something that you're not familiar with, it might be something to take a step back and ponder, was there outside forces that were spurring on the development of humanity on this planet? Who were they and what were they? Um, and so I'm going to open, usually I just open the floor up to doing readings, but I'm going to open the floor up to having a discussion about that. And if you have questions regarding anything that I talked about or anything in this topic, I am like, look, okay, so my brain is really full because I have this thing going on Wednesday, but my brain is always full with weird information, especially when it has to do with human origin and the development of mankind. So, but before I begin, I just want to do my little shout out thing. Um, so if you're interested in scheduling a private consultation with me, please go to soulhealer.com. Soulhealer.com, use the contact form and reach out. Don't forget to like me, Dr. Rita Louise, not Rita Louise, but Dr. Rita Louise. Look for my bright, shining face and not a poodle with a tinfoil hat. And like my Facebook page, and it'll keep you up to date on when the next Monday Night Live is. Or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Just Energy Radio on YouTube. I post the live streams once they're done on there, but you can also tune into the live stream from that channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Okay, so wow, there's already like 10 comments. Woohoo! So I'm going to say hello to everybody, and then if there's questions, I'm going to jump into those. So I want to say hello to all the people that are here from Facebook. Hey, thank you all for tuning in. as well as anybody that came and are watching the stream on YouTube. Thank you for checking in. I know that my YouTube people love when I do ancient mystery stuff, so this one is for you. So, hey, Antone, how are you doing? We have Veronica in the house. So, Veronica suggested that I should drink Red Bull. It gives you wings. Yeah, and it keeps you up all night. So, Cindy's here, and my new friend, Stuart, who's Cindy's for real in life brother. Um, okay. Uh, So Cindy has to say, all right, so I don't read these in advance, so I can't really make commentary. I like to think that we are the result of an ancient alien sixth grade science project. Well, a line that I've used very often is, some of these gods, ancient alien gods, broke the Prime Directive and gave us stuff that we weren't supposed to get. So, for example, and actually there is case law on this. There's the story of Prometheus that gave humanity fire and was chained to a rock, where an eagle ate his liver out every night, and then it reconstituted itself because he was a god, and he had to live that way for eternity. Same with Loki. Um, there is a god out of the Native American cosmology called Macabo. Similar story, gave humanity fire, got in trouble for it. So we find that the gods, for the most part, really didn't want us to have the technology, but they gave it to us anyway and then got in trouble. Oops. Broke the Prime Directive. I can just see Captain Picard or Captain Kirk going, oh, they broke the Prime Directive. Okay, thank you, Cindy. So Sin wants to know if he can have a free reading. So Sin, here are the rules of engagement for getting a reading. And yes, you surely can have a free reading. So the reading has to be a real question. So if you say, can you tell me something? Not a real question. It needs to be fairly specific. I do not talk about dead people, so don't ask me about some dead person. And I don't predict the future. So if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, but you can be a bit more specific, I may or may not want to give you an answer, but you just give a random next Tuesday, you're going to go to the supermarket and find $20 on the ground. Not doing it. Okay. So Sin, please do feel free to post your question below. Okay. So again, not reading these. So you guys need to be like PG on them. All right. So Stuart, and hopefully this whole thing, I don't feel as a modern people, we are from this planet originally. Fossils as well as drawings and statue help to prove this theory. Heck, from our supposed ancestors, they just figured out how to make fires, wheels, weapons to build the pyramids, implementing plumbing and the plethora of growth that it takes intelligent thought. Just as a thought, Rita. Hey, Stuart. However, Stuart, if the information, the basic information was given to us by the gods, then we would get a jump start into this whole thing. And I'm actually going to give you an example, and I don't have like the details in front of me, and I haven't been like trying to memorize it for the last 2 weeks because I'm filming. But at the Stone Age Center, I mean, this is recent, the very recent. They took some apes and they were teaching them how to make stone tools. And so within 10 years of working with them, they were able to make stone tools. They were also able to teach them sign language. And one of the apes actually knew 3,000 different sign languages, 3,000 different signs, and was able to tell the handler that she wanted a Starbucks. Go Starbucks. See, Cindy, I knew you would like that. Yeah, could tell the handler that she wanted a Starbucks. And then there was this one ape that they taught to make a fire. And so he would go out and forage for sticks and brush and bring it all and then erect the fire. Now, granted, they give them a little heads up. They gave them, I think, a lighter or some matches and didn't have to use like the flint and steel part to get the fire going. But they were able to teach him how to do that. And they did that in a relatively short period of time. And if you think about it also, as humans, the information is self perpetuating the second we leave the womb. We are taught everything that we know. And if we're not taught stuff, how to socialize, how to tie your shoes, how to pour cereal in a bowl and put milk into it, how to hold the spoon and eat with it, we would end up being feral children. And there have been examples of feral children in more modern times, although it's pretty rare. So a feral child is a child who is lost or somehow wanders off into like a jungle or whatever, kind of like the Tarzan story, and they're recovered. But when they come back into society, it's like they don't know the basic things. They're not able to communicate. And from a neurological brain way, they can't function in society because they haven't been trained from an early enough age to do that. Now, if you stuck them in the woods, they could go kill an animal and they could, find a place to stay and do those things because that's what they know how to do, But I wouldn't want to like those shows where people go off into the jungle or a desert and they're out there for 3 or 4 days. Don't want to do it. And I know I wouldn't survive because I don't have the skill set to do it. So great question, Stuart. So I'm looking for the respond comment. Oh, wait a minute. Let's change this. There we go. Better. Okay, so let's see. So Veronica wants to know, I wonder how cultures like Egypt and the Mayans and Aztecs had such advanced buildings. Well, Veronica, that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about during the filming. So you're going to have to wait for Ancient Civilizations #5 to find out. No, just kidding. So legend suggests that a group of, and I'm air quoting, gods that had fair complexions and red hair brought civilization to humanity and were also the ones that gave them information. Now, who these gods were and where they came from is really a mystery that I'm not even going to touch. But it seems to me that there is a global narrative that exists on the planet, and either it comes from a time far, 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 far in our distant past, or that there was a common root race that moved around the continent or around the planet, sharing this cultural basis and technology with the rest of the world. Thank you. Good question. I love talking about ancient mysteries. Okay, so we have Tristan. Hi, Tristan. And he feels like, I feel like I'm going through the motions of life today. How can I seek out more joy from my life? Okay, let's see, Tristan, what's going on. So Tristan, and I'm going to talk a little technical here, but then I'll bring it back down to earth just in case you don't really understand what I'm saying. So when I look at you, the first thing that I'm seeing is that you as spirit seem really far out of your body. And so when I look at you, there's your body, but then there's your spiritual body that's leaning forward. And so you're not really connecting, which makes it so that you're not really grounded because there is this whole system that happens inside of us. And I'm going to make this comment also. We're the only ones that can make us happy. And I feel like there's this part of you that is kind of waiting for someone or something to come into your life to bring joy to it. Um, and a lot of the times when I see that kind of energy, it's usually tied to a loss, a loss of a spouse, a loss of a partner, like with a relationship breaking up, the loss of a job, where we really don't know. We're used to having these things to do and having this agenda and having this routine, and now it is lost, but we're the only ones that can fix that and move forward. So I have a two-part answer for you. The first part is, you know, beginning some kind of a meditation practice or a mindfulness practice will help bring you back into your body and bring you back into alignment. But I also feel that finding things to bring joy into your life, and looking at it from a positive place, like, oh, I get to go do this, even though doing this might be just something to do. At first, it can really start to shift that. But we really have to make a conscious effort and put the energy in order to get the results that we're hoping for. I hope that makes sense. And if you want to respond or get a follow up, just please post below. Okay. All right. So, Miss Veronica, excuse me, question. What biofilm team you recommended? Is it working on my never ending UTI? I've been drinking it twice a day. Great. Um, okay. So, Veronica, what you're showing me is that it is starting, okay, and don't be mad, it is starting to thin out the biofilm. I feel like the Okay, so for people that don't know, so biofilm is like a layer of plaque that can get on your teeth and on your organs and your sinuses. Where I see it the most is sinuses and in women in their bladder that that coat it. But one of the things that it can do is it can create a barrier trapping bacteria inside. And so people that have reoccurring uh, bladder infections or reoccurring sinus infections, they might have an issue with biofilm. So, Veronica, when I look at the deposit of biofilm in your body, I feel like it is starting to thin down, some places more than others, but it has not gotten down to the bladder wall yet to where the bacteria is actually seated. I think it's great that you're doing it twice a day, and they're suggesting that it is really going to take a couple of months for it to finally work its way through and start attacking that bacteria. Okay? Thanks. Okay, so Sin wants to know what is Chris's current feelings toward me as will we get together? Okay. Okay, so when I look at Chris's energy, I mean, I see it there. When I look at relationship dynamics, I look to see at how much the two people are engaged in the relationship. And when I look at Chris, he's kind of looking over there, and I don't really feel like there's a lot of energy in the relationship dynamic. And Sam, with you, I almost feel like it's the same way. It's like you're waiting for somebody to be interested in you so that you'll engage. And the part that makes me a little sad is that you kind of will take anybody that will provide you that engagement. And I think you like Chris, but I'm not really getting that he's all, like he's the guy. I just feel like he is a guy and you just want somebody, um, if that makes sense. Um, so if you're hoping that there'll be something more, I mean, it's something that you could initiate, but I'm not. I'm not really feeling it, and if there's an expectation that he initiates, I really don't get that at all. Okay, so we're back to Stuart, and he says, I agree. Well, that's because I'm smart and the doctor, Stuart. Everything is learned, but the thing is, who is the teacher? And I'm telling you, the teachers are the gods. And, or at least at one point in time, it was the gods. But then I'm going to kind of shift this, and one of the conundrums that I ran into in doing some of my research was there were the gods that interacted with humanity and were responsible for their development and their creation and their early education. And this group of gods had mighty chariots and amazing weapons, which, if you were ethereal and invisible, you wouldn't need all this stuff. But then there are a series of spiritual beings that some people call God, so I know that you don't believe in God. So, but when people go inside and they feel connected to source or connected to the universe, some people substitute that feeling with the word God. So I'm going to use it in that context. People that channel information, people that have those light bulb moments, kind of like Euripides. I don't know, Eureka, I have found it, because he had a light bulb moment. Those people also are connecting to source that some people claim are these higher level beings that provide us with information. And so I think some of our advanced technology, and advanced learning comes from that. But according to mythic sources, the gods have provided humanity education on at 6 different times, 3 times before the flood and 3 times after the flood. And there are people today that suggest that current UFOs go down, that they find a wreck somewhere, so that the gods aren't directly giving us the information, but now we have this ship that we can back engineer and utilize that technology for our technological growth. So just putting it all out there for you to think about. All right, you can't pay attention in time. Next time we'll get together, get ready for a talk. No, not the talk, not the talk. Okay, Stuart, you better stay longer then. Okay, so Tristan, does that make sense to you? I hope so. All right. Okay, so we have some person, blah, blah, hello, but she wants Veronica Smith. And she made the mistake of asking Cindy because she felt a strong connection to her. Yeah. And Cindy needs a reading. Cindy and Veronica, when I kind of feel into whoever these people are, I really don't get anything. Like, they seem soulless. And, I think Babalu, whoever you are, with a name that I can't pronounce to save my life, I think that you should ask a question and get a reading while you're here. You might as well. It's free. Okay, let's see. Okay, thank you, Veronica. So Cindy said, go away, you spammer people. You're not welcome. And then Veronica said, I am a stop sign. Want you to stop meddling in this live session. That's right. You go away. Okay, so Stuart's back. It says, being an atheist will cause me to argue the God thing. I feel as we learned from humanoids or beings that were way advanced, and we gave them the term gods. Well, and Stuart, for the most part, that's what I'm saying. I just don't say that out loud because, and I have a very specific reason for saying that, because myth does not refer to them as extraterrestrials. They refer to them as the gods. Even if they have 4 heads and 50 arms, or the upper body of a person and the bottom of a snake, I don't know how you can get like away from an alien with that. So, but I choose to not use that word. Talking about the connection on the inside part, um, that would be a totally different discussion. But no, I totally go there. I'm not putting your next. Okay. So Cindy's getting a little bit frustrated with the spammers, although they haven't posted anymore, and she wants them to get a rash. And I just want to say that, she will like spammer people, give you the evil eye, and you just might get a rash. It could happen. So, any more questions out there? I think I got everybody that posted a question. No idea. Yeah, there's nothing. Um, so let's see. So Cindy said it's too late now. So Gobbledygook, whatever your name is, if you get a rash, come back and we'll heal it. Not. Um, hey, Amber. So I kind of caught up on everything. Do you have a question tonight? We've been talking about ancient mysteries and the gods, but you can ask about anything other than, predicting the future and dead people. But I'd love to hear from you. Oh my God. It is the man, John Kassler. So, Cindy, Stuart, John. I won't say he's my brother. He's my alien brother. So, John, you live with an alien? Okay. I thought your brother was the alien. So, anyway, I'd like to hear more on your alien person that you live with. So, put it in the comments. And we have Charles in the house. Thank you, Charles, for coming in. Nice seeing you. Hey. All right, and we have Veronica comment. Who do you, okay, so I guess the comment is something to the effect of who are these interdimensional beings? And who they are, I don't really know. They're beings that don't have bodies. In some cultures, they refer to these, um, okay, hang on, Veronica, I'm gonna come back. So, Amber, go ahead and ask the question, and if I don't like it, I will respond back to you. But really, anything other than, tell me about a dead person and a generic question about, tell me about my future, and then we're good to go. Okay, interdimensional beings. So I mean, I believe interdimensional beings exist, or they just live in a higher frequency range than we in the 3D on this planet live. Um, I find it funny that there are all these people that channel these interdimensional beings. However, they don't bring forward necessarily the same information from person to person. And what kind of scares me more is that there are people that will base their life, I'm not really sure how to phrase this, base their decisions on this information, this channeled information. But when you're talking about an interdimensional being, you're talking about a being that doesn't have a body. And how do you know you're talking to Archangel Michael, like for real Archangel Michael? Or are you talking to Michael, the janitor who lives on Zeta Reticula? You don't know because they're beings without bodies. You know, hang on one second. And my level of trust is just not that high. Even though I have the peanut gallery and I've worked with them for a long time and I totally trust them. Um, but there's a lot of information that people talk about that, in my humble opinion, just sounds ridiculous. Okay, so not speaking bad about anybody, but I did an interview. I was a fill-in host for somebody else's show, and they already had a guest, and they sent me the book, this guy's book, and I'm reading through it. And he channeled some being, I don't remember. and he was asking this guy questions, or people were asking questions. I don't really remember, but questions were being asked. And they were asking things like, do you have refrigerators there? And the being was like, well, we have things like refrigerators, but they operate differently. Do you see that look? Like, what the? And a lot of the questions were that way. They were asking, well, one, stupid questions, but this being was giving these, I don't know. I mean, in the end, the guy was wonderful. We had a great interview. It went by really fast, thank God. I didn't really have to talk to him about his book because that would have been really hard, because I kind of laughed through most of it because it was just like beyond my BS level. Um, so it all turned out good. Okay. So, Amber, have you posted a question? Okay, so I'm still waiting for your question, Amber. Type away. Type, type, type. All right. So, Veronica is back with another comment. That makes sense. But yes, the people that channel are all over the place. And I totally agree. I think that if the material that someone was channeling was more consistent, um, then I would be able to hold it or entertain it. Um, but I'm not seeing that. I'm just not seeing that at all. Um, Amber, you can ask about past lives. You sure can. Oh, why don't I just like jump right into that? Okay, so Amber wanted to know about past lives. So I'm just going to like do a little quick past life reading for Amber. Oh, how fun. Okay, so Amber, where are we going to put you? Wow, you really want me to talk about this one. Okay. Okay. And it's being pretty specific. So, in and around 1560, you lived in France, in that European area, and you were a nun. Very interesting. Um, and I feel like one of the things that you liked about being a nun was that there were rules to your daily life. You got up at a certain, there was a lot of regimentation. And so you always knew what to expect because your day was kind of planned out for you. And even though there were activities that you would do, but there would be a time slot for those activities. So I don't know if you find that you tend to be very regimented in this lifetime where you plan out your day, or because sometimes things flip around, you find that you have a hard time. You might have a little bit of ADHD where you have a hard time getting in that regimen, and you are kind of bringing that lifetime to the forefront, so that you can tap into that energy to make your life be more manageable and more navigable. Yeah, that's the word I'm going to go with. So, Amber, I would love to hear some feedback from you. Okay. Okay. All right. So Dave Perry, my fishing buddy, says, "Hey girl, miss you. Looking forward to Jefferson next weekend." So Dave, just wondering, are you coming for all day? Because I'm not doing the investigations. Just FYI. Okay. And so we have, and I am so sorry, Dalaborca. Sorry, I have no phonics skills. If you have a question, there's 15 minutes left, and I would love to entertain it. Um, Earlier, we were talking about the gods and ancient mysteries and the development of humanity on the planet, if you want to jump in on that conversation. But yes, the doctor is in and questions abound. All right, so Amber says, "You're picking up all my energy." And now she says she has goosebumps. And then she says, "Oh my goodness, exactly. Yay. That's why they pay me the big bucks to do this." Okay. So Dave says this is about the conference, History Haunts and Legends Conference, next Saturday in spooky Jefferson, Texas. So I will be there, and I'm doing a presentation from 10 to 10:30, 10:45, talking about the mysteries of psychic abilities revealed. So yes, Dave, I will be there because I'm speaking, and I'll have a booth. Okay. Ooh, we're getting a run of past life readings. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. Okay, oh wait, let's go back to Amber for one quick second. She thinks I'm awesome. She thinks I'm awesome. Just saying. Okay, back to Veronica. And she, sometimes we start on a trend and that just becomes the focus of the chat room. But past life readings are kind of fun. Okay, Veronica, where do you want me to take you? Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so Veronica, I mean, we know each other, and I know that you have some health issues going on. And, this is not often a place that I will naturally go during a health reading. Um, but this is jumping in my face, and so I'm going to go with it. But now I wonder if you should consider that perhaps some of your health issues, especially the joint pain and the mobility issues, is actually tied to a past life. So you're showing me that in the mid 1800s, you were a man and you had some kind of really bad accident, like you fell off of a roof. I mean, something really bad where there was a strong impact. I want to say you got hit by a car, but I don't think they had cars then, or I don't think you would have like got hurt this way with a car, but something where there was a heavy impact and you survived, but there was a severe, I'm going to say disability. I mean, like you were in pain all the time and you couldn't, your mobility, that's the right word. Your mobility was really impacted. And so, again, I don't usually look at past lives because I can't fix them. But it just, having seen this, and it's not all that long ago in the line of past lives, that it might be some bleed through into the present. Okay. So we have Sharon wanting a past life reading too. Okay. Hi, Sharon. Is this your first time here? I hope you enjoy what's going on today and come back more every week, next Monday. Okay, so let's see, Sharon. Where do you want me to start? I don't know that you really want me to go there. Okay. Sometimes it's like I like to start with a question, um, because this is kind of the predominant energy coming up for me. So Amber, and I'm just going to keep talking, but I'm going to start with the question. So Amber, I don't know if in this lifetime you have challenges with abandonment issues, um, where you never really connected with your family, or perhaps you were adopted at an early age and have those kinds of, fear and dread of abandonment. You're showing me, and this is actually a very recent lifetime. You were in Germany. You were there as part of World War II. There was bombing and fighting going on around you. You lost your parents, and you keep showing me this image of you walking through these streets with just bricks and broken buildings, and you're crying and you're looking for your parents. Did I say you were about 7 years old? Um, and I hate to say, but you did not survive. Something happened to you, which is not important to this piece of narrative. So if there have been issues for you with feelings of abandonment or being afraid to be alone, would be one symptom of that. I feel like that was coming from this most recent past life. And we can have hundreds of past lives, that's go back to the time that life started developing on this planet. But we can also have lives where we incarnated on another planet, even though my ability to read those, because I don't have the cultural symbolism to interpret them, is next to impossible. But I have worked with clients who have incarnated on this planet only a few times, and it seemed like they had been incarnating on a different planet and were now here. And those people often walk around going, I just don't really feel like I fit in. I don't feel like I'm connected. Um, I want to go home. That's a line that you hear from them often. I want to go home because it doesn't feel like home here. So, anyway, okay, so Sharon, let me know if that works for you. All right, so okay, okay. So Sharon confirms that she has abandonment issues. So, so I'm feeling like, um, that some of that, not all of it, because I do feel like there's some of that abandonment energy from this lifetime. But I feel like when you came into your body this time, that some of that energy was bleeding through and you were more sensitive and had a higher need for connection and contact with your mother. And you didn't get as much as your little psyche needed at the time. And it just accentuated what was already going on. So great. Okay, so we have you mean send me friend request for your reading now. Obviously, not an English speaking person, but Yasmin, if you would like to get a reading, you can ask a question. I'd be happy to answer it here on air. Oh, Stuart, Yasmin wants you. Yasmin, you need to go. Oh, she wants you too, Dave and Veronica. Bye, Yasmin. Well, we only got a couple of minutes left anyway. All right, so Stuart says, see you next week and talk soon, Rita. Pizza just got here. Good night. All right, good night to Stuart. I still have 5 more minutes. So if anybody has any last questions, Yasmin, do you want to get a past life reading? Um, how about you, Dave? You haven't asked any questions. That would be an easy, don't really have to ask anything thing. Or you, Charles, or John, all you guys who are hovering in the background, not doing anything. Another, another rash out the door. Bye. Ooh, okay. All right. So, Cindy. I don't know, Cindy. Sometimes it scares me to read you, but here, let's go. And it's always interesting because so many people have incarnated like during the Renaissance. I think because it was like a really good period of time. So, Cindy, you are also showing me a lifetime during the Renaissance. It was the late 1500s, early 1600s. This is a shocker. You are a merchant. You're actually a very successful merchant. Um, you were well known in society. You were definitely in the upper echelon of society, not ruling class, but of that merchant class. I feel like people had a lot of respect for you. Um, Also, in that lifetime, so here's a little bit of dirt. Also, in that lifetime, you really were involved in politics and kind of did some dirty deeds back then. Um, and I feel like there's some there's some guilt tied to that, because I feel like near the end of your life, you realize that you really weren't living in your integrity and that you were taking advantage of people. So, and taking advantage of your position. So I feel like that was something you wanted to correct in future lives. Okay, so let's see. 1560. So Cindy said it was 1560. See, you think I make this stuff up. Okay. All right, so there's 4 minutes left. I'm going to try to get through everyone that has asked for a past life reading. If I run out of time, I'm just going to say good night, and you're going to have to come back next week to get your reading. And no, Veronica, I don't do past life healing. I used to refer everyone that needed it to a friend of mine who was wonderful, but that's another long story that I'm not going to get into. Okay, Antone, let's see what you got going on. Okay, so I'm really not getting a fix on a date for you. I'm, because we went through this really long period where, especially in outskirt areas, society really didn't change as far as the landmarks that you see. And so you're showing me that you lived in like Norway, Northern England, up in that area. I'm getting in that Norway, Denmark. I don't know. I don't have a map, so I can't put my finger on it. And you just keep showing me this wooden house and these big fields and these animals that pastured on the field, and it's really challenging to kind of put a date stamp on it because there really weren't big cities to help identify. Your clothing is very primitive. Um, so sorry about that part. But let's see. So why are you showing me this? Because that's the key. So I get the impression that being out in nature and that kind of thing is one very important to you. Having the space to be, the space to move around. I get the impression that you feel very comfortable in it, and doing, and for you, living off the grid would be something that you would be able to do, although you choose not to do that. And I feel like in this lifetime, all of this technology and all of this forward movement, even though you can keep track of it, on some levels, it really bothers you and you kind of hope for a simpler life. And so I hope that makes sense. Nina, Miss Nina, girly. Ooh, all right, Nina, you are my last one, and then we're wrapping up. And Dave, you're just going to have to come back next week. I swear. All right, so Nina, what do you got going on? Okay. So for some reason, I want to say the 12th century, but then Joan of Arc came up. And okay, and I'm not saying you were Joan of Arc, but it was during the period of Joan of Arc. And I feel like you are around her, around that movement that she led. I feel like in that lifetime, you really looked up to her and her values. I don't know. I feel like there was a connection, a reverence, even though I don't feel like you knew her personally, but I feel like you really believed what she stood for. And I feel like in this lifetime, Okay, just going to say it out loud. I feel like in this lifetime, it's like you're kind of looking for meaning and you're kind of looking for connection and you're looking for that thing to hold on to move forward to. But when you do, when you try to connect to someone or something, there's always a piece of it that turns you off, that there's a negative vibe to it, or you can see through them and see the evil that lies behind the mask is the best way that I can say that. And so I hope that you do find what you're looking for. It's just sad that people don't move forward in this lifetime anymore with a purity of purpose. So I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, see, Dave, you need to come back. Let's see. Antone. So I guess that made sense to you, Antone. Oh, and Yasmin's a tarot reader. Woohoo. Anyway, so it's after 8 o'clock. I am 2 minutes overdue. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Monday Night Live. Thank you all for tuning in to the show today. If you would like to schedule a private consultation, please visit my website, soulhealer.com, and send me a message, and we can get something set up right away. Don't forget to like my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. Look for my smiling face, not the poodle with the tinfoil hat, and like the page. Or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. And don't forget, I will be back here next Monday night to answer all of your questions, and we'll have more fun and more spammers, and we can yell at them too. Until then, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. Be blessed.